What's going on, everyone? So we got an interesting part two of this video with Shawn Layden, starting off with a very important subject leading to another very important one. Because I know people don't usually finish certain long videos, but we're going to start straight off with this one and get right into this. Shawn Layden says his thoughts about the Steam machine, starting off with he doesn't agree with the price. He thinks it's not for the mass majority, which he's correct about that. And then he goes into why he thinks Xbox as a brand led by Microsoft lacked manufacturing experience compared to Sony. And you can tell they did, and that how Valve is also learning that making hardware is hard. Just like I tried with the first Steam machine. So Layden gives his insight on it, and I want you guys to let me know what you think. Then he goes into some stuff about Last of Us and just how he got involved and how things worked. And then there's some other things to talk about. Because usually, like when you want to make like subjects you want to cover, you don't want to fit everything sometimes into one video, because it's like you want to cover that highlight there and get enough balance for people. Like I don't like making 50-minute videos, or something like that, unless I have to, covering one big subject like that. But in here, we learn a lot about his opinion with the Steam machine, why he thinks Xbox lacks manufacturing experience. To an extent, he's not too long on it, and a couple other things, including Last of Us, which I think is funny. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this. Yeah, and then Steam players, as you know, like I said, I want the Steam machine to come out, but Layden has a point to a certain degree of what I know how he's looking at it. But let's get into this and let's find out.
Because I'd love to know what your take is on the new Steam machine. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at that a little bit.
Yeah. It's expensive.
So you see what he said right there, like right off the bat, Layden is looking at it, and hell, guys, here's what I think. We're thinking the sweet spot will be 700, right? But with the way this market is going, and we talked about the VRAM stuff, all right? We already talked about that. But that's not my thing. My thing is now, knowing how things are going to be going, Valve may have made the right decision depending on how expensive things are going to get, unless they can escape that with the API design, is the SSD 512 gigabytes is not enough, knowing how insane this market's going to be very soon. We've read all the articles, because it's just not enough. Like, they should have did a 1 terabyte model and a 2 terabyte model. That's the only thing I'm like, oh man, VRAM, we already got past that. There's a way to adjust around that, but let's keep going.
It reminds me of a story. I was at CES right after PlayStation 4 launched.
Okay.
And I was there doing some interviews on the network business. But some journalist, Kevin, saying, we had in his booth, he both had a PlayStation 4 and had that Xbox, what was it called back then? Series X or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was the Xbox One. Layden is so funny. That's how you know he's so into PlayStation. And he doesn't even remember the name of his competitor's product, because he's like, I'm going to beat you anyways. I don't really care about you. Layden is a funny guy. But just to finish, too, if you guys are wondering what did I mean by the SSD, well, guys, think if you wanted to get an external. Do you know how expensive that's going to be for the Steam machine? But get back to topic, though. That was funny. He was like, Xbox Series, guys, I'm sorry. He just, the whole video, I did not. I can't believe that. Layden, you're a funny guy, man. Because he said PS4, CES, and we know CES is not going to be too far away, because it usually happens every year in January. But he said PS4, so yeah, that was the Xbox One. But yeah, let's continue.
And he asked me, so how is it that your PlayStation 4, you just have a cable that plugs into the wall, but for the Xbox, you have a cable that goes into this huge brick, which is the power supply, and then that goes into the wall? And I said, the answer is super easy. One represents 75 years of manufacturing experience. The other represents about 10 years of manufacturing experience. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Okay, so right there, Layden saying just by that design, he thinks that Microsoft, and there's other ways too, I heard some things from people, lacks the manufacturing experience of design, of hardware, manufacturing. And that was a little bit too complicated compared to PlayStation's PS4's design. That's an interesting concept there.
And I think Steam is finding out that hardware is hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's in the name.
And it's in the name, and it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
the stuff, my time in Tokyo working for Sony, we'd have meetings where guys would be all excited that we can now complete this Walkman with 20% fewer screws. And that's going to bring the unit price down by 1.3 cents.
Right.
And everybody was like popping corks.
Do you see what Shawn Layden just said? He's right. Sony definitely has a lot of hardware manufacturing experience. We knew they were a hardware manufacturing company in a lot of ways. I want you guys to think about this too. They're already finding ways to strip down the PlayStations, just like they stripped down the storage stuff and stripped down to more pieces. People were talking about this before because they're thinking about things from a hardware manufacturing perspective. You notice that? Whereas Microsoft didn't even have a digital Series X at launch for $399, like Sony had that PS5 digital only, and that was matching that, though it was cheaper, only $100 more than the Series S. Where it's like, when you think about that setup again, they got outsmarted in the manufacturing hardware section. And then they get outsold in hardware manufacturing. And Sony's very good at managing that. Nintendo does a good job with that too, but that's not what this is about. It's just basically saying, though, that we see Steam coming in, right? And he's like, hardware manufacturing, you see, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart, meaning that you guys are saying that this is hell. And then you see what's coming around the corner too. How can you adjust? It is something to think about. Even Phil Spencer was saying the same thing, that when I look at, the hardware manufacturing of these hardwares, they're too identical. We need to innovate in hardware. We need to do something better when it comes to hardware. And then he was talking about common denominator hardware focus as well. Though that's a little bit different, but even then, Phil Spencer still noticed that the hardware manufacturing was way too identical, and we lost that digital carryover. So we have to find a way to innovate. Or what's the point? And then Layden said over here saying, like, Sony has that hardware manufacturing experience. I guarantee you that PS6 is going to be stripped down, and they're going to find a way to try to make it cheaper without jacking the price up. This is what Layden just said about, the Sony Walkman and stuff.
Because when you're looking at tens of millions of production models, if you're saving 2 cents on every unit, right? It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And so everyone's totally geared around that at Sony, because it's a manufacturing company since 1947.
Yeah.
The Steam guys, it's not easy.
That was a very important coverage right there. So Shawn Layden is giving you a deeper insight from as being, kind of almost a master in that world, because he's been in there for a long time. And that's the type of stuff you usually don't hear people talk about. That's why I'm always open to, looking at many points of views to see like what else could be added in to what can be a problem here. And when you think about what he just said when it comes to hardware manufacturing, that is a huge problem right now. Definitely with the DRAM crisis, the NAND crisis, all this other stuff. How are you going to adjust from a hardware manufacturing perspective and strategy in 2026? Well, Sony's definitely thinking about it right now. You know what I mean? And I bet they were glad they got ahead and prepared at least till mid-2026 when it comes to this AI data feed. What is Microsoft going to do? Well, they were late to the ballpark again. Let me just tell you guys something, because he's right in a way. And they have all that money. They just now started moving their base in Vietnam. Nintendo had that back in 2018. Sony been moved their base in USA out of China. Microsoft didn't get that deal when they went to South Korea the other day. They stormed out of the room angry. They weren't there ahead either. They didn't even prepare for the data centers. Apparently, it's like, what are you doing when it comes to the manufacturing aspect? You should have been ready. But because of that, they're suffering big time. You see, these are mistakes that are going on. I didn't say Xbox, at Microsoft, and also whoever the engineering teams were that wanted to decide to design things a certain way. It seems like Sony's people were a lot more experienced and they knew what they were doing. Not because it's just PlayStation, because like Shawn Layden said, they've been doing that since the 1940s. Yeah, so they've been doing that for that long, and on different types of aspects. Remember the Sony Walkman? That sold 100-something million. So when you think about Sony when it comes to hardware, manufacturing, and just moving hardware, they're very good at that, regardless. And they have a dedicated loyalty that's been there for a very long time. And, this is just something to realize as a fact in the world. Interesting stuff here.
You wish him luck.
I do. I wish everybody luck. I think,
okay.
My standard phrase when I in speaking engagements or in articles is that my goal is to get more people playing games. But the corollary to that is to get more people playing games, I need more people making games.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, more devs. And frankly, I don't want devs that are my demographic. I think we've held serve for long enough here in Silicon Valley. What it is we build and make. I want to find out what a team in Ecuador is working on and what they think is fun and interesting. That's part of the reason why I'm going to Abu Dhabi this weekend.
Yeah.
To see a lot of devs from Southeast Asia, from the Middle East, and from Africa, and find out how they tell their stories, because they're going to have some great stories, and we need more people building games everywhere.
Yeah, that's true, because then you get more civilizations and more histories that feel unique. Like, Sony does a good job with this. They have Chinese Hero Project, South Korea Hero Project, if you guys didn't know about that. And they even have an Indian Hero Project. So India is going to be coming into the industry. If you guys don't know about that, India Hero Project PlayStation. Right there. This is one thing they do a really good job with. That's how you got games like Stellar Blade and all that. So now, and you could tell Shawn Layden's still kind of continuing down that route, where it's like, okay, they're trying to empower and get different things. Though they made money at it, but at the same time, they're investing into diversity naturally across the world, which is a good thing, because like I said, if I start getting all these Indian stories and worlds to explore, just like we're getting these unique Chinese worlds and these unique South Korean worlds, like it does make gaming more interesting, because we're already used to stuff coming from Japan a lot and over here a lot. So getting stuff from natural areas around the world, it's definitely more welcome. I would definitely like to see what Ecuador has to share, Middle East has to share. It can be very interesting. You might be able to find always a quality type of developer. You see what's already happened with China, the era of China coming. Hey man, Phantom Blade, Wukong. I'm liking Where Winds Meet. I'm playing the hell out of that right now. I love Stellar Blade. I loved Eliza P from South Korea. Like, I'm looking forward to more stuff like that, because it does make gaming more interesting. So that's a good thing about Layden. He always has very good ideas, and that's why I like listening to what he has to say. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how other things come out of India. I know they're up next, because they have a huge culture, so there could be mass potential there, and they have a lot of rich culture to tell.
Everywhere. Yeah. I love that thought, and I agree. Hardcore.
Yep. So Steam boxes, Nintendo, if Xbox comes out again, that's great.
Yeah.
Just more playing games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of games and stuff you said about them, I know that you said in the past that for you, a game needs 3 things, right?
Okay.
A story, a character,
and a world.
Yeah. Which game in the last few years do you feel best fits that?
Well, when I said that, of course, the internet lit up on that one, saying, so you're saying Tetris isn't a game then, because it doesn't have a character or a story? No, I said, my idea of a game. I understand Tetris is a game. I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
I played it to death.
Yeah.
But in the modern parlance of gaming, I think those 3 things are important to me. I mean, that's why I've always been doing single player narrative games mostly.
Yeah.
What I think of recent past, I mean, no game in the last 5 years has had the emotional hit on me like Last of Us 2. Oh, I remember being in the Greenlight meeting.
That's
for that,
funny.
And Neil walked me through the whole pitch, and all I said was, "That's grim."
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do it, guys.
But it's going to be awesome. So
yeah,
let's go make the most awesome grim game that we can.
I don't know, man. I like Last of Us 1 better.
Amazing.
For certain reasons, but I still love 2 though.
It'll make you cry.
Oh yeah. Oh, it made me cry.
Made me mad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that game. I'm so glad that it's got a great TV show now. And
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's getting that done was a whole story in of itself.
Oh, do tell.
Well, about 20 years ago, when I was in
Don't
London,
you do
we
it.
just finished building a game called The Getaway.
We're not doing it.
That was out of London Studios. It's kind of like a Guy Ritchie movie made into a game. We had proper actors. We had a proper script. It came out great, did good numbers. I came to Hollywood to say, maybe this is a good time for Hollywood to look at gaming properties. I know you guys did the Mario movie, but we won't talk about that. And Bob Hoskins felt that ruined his career.
Shawn Layden is a funny guy.
Sunset Getaway is purpose built for Hollywood. It's Guy Ritchie, it's gangsters, it's the whole thing. But I almost got laughed out of every studio. Like, what? We're gonna make a movie out of Pong or something like that? It's like, oh my God. I realized at the time, a whole generation has to retire.
Yeah.
They all have to move on.
Shawn Layden is right about this. Guys, in the 90s, Hollywood would always laugh at video games, look down on them, mock them, thought they were all that. What's going on now with that? Yeah. You've been way in the back a long time ago. Video game industry took over in the 2000 era, even after that, and became the biggest in the world. And it's like Shawn Layden was saying, some of you guys need to retire because they're stuck in their old ways and they can't get out of the 80s and the 90s, even though Nintendo changed that too in a certain way and made sure that, along with Sega coming in to help too, and then PlayStation coming in. But at that time, they were laughing at the video game industry big time, making fun of it. What are they doing now? They're being laughed at.
And so fast forward 15 years after that, and we started seeing people in Hollywood who got it, who actually grew up gaming themselves and had advanced in the Hollywood stratosphere, echelon enough to get to the point where they can push the money button. Because talking to anybody else says, oh, that's a great idea. But I said, can you push the money button? Oh, no, my boss's boss does that. It's like, okay, I got a long way to go.
Climb the ladder.
Pretty much.
But we started, I established a group called PlayStation Productions on the Pictures lot in 2019, I think, 18 or 19. And we went at it. We got the Uncharted movie, which had been in development hell for 9 years. Finally got that out the door to, variable results. The Gran Turismo movie got out. And then for The Last of Us, we were really lucky because we found a kindred spirit in Craig Mazin, the guy who did Chernobyl. And he'd played the game and he loved the game. And so with that kind of investment, personal, emotional investment, he was really the right one for Neil to partner with and to bring that to HBO. HBO saw the vision too. And we finally got to the place where people stopped thinking in their mind that we're trying to make a video game into a movie. The idea was, here's a great story that could also be a movie.
Story first.
Yes.
I'm very excited for the Helldivers 2.
Interesting story about how that happened, huh? Okay, Layden, and how they basically were mocking him and how he got a lot of things started. Like I said, he did a lot of good things at PlayStation. So, yeah, we pretty much got this part of the interview that was actually the subjects that we want to cover, along with adding this in at the end. But yeah, I mean, that hardware manufacturing aspect, what his idea was on Steam Machine, how it's hard to do that was probably the most interesting. So let me know what you guys think about this. Like, comment, subscribe. As you know, we're bringing you unique content every single day, 3 episodes a day. We're trying to do this. Later, y'all. Thanks for all the support. Appreciate it.